Welcome to Reality App Show coverage of the challenge. All Stars 5 Rivals. We're back again this week talking episode 3. I'm your host, Dan Montchal, joined as always, Alex Trias, Paulie Calafiore. And in an age where our podcast, we're speaking up against the OG's bullshit propaganda, there is one OG that is rising higher than all of them. And that's our boy, Handjob Steve.
Handjob Steve is absolutely killing it. And I gotta give Adam his flowers too. I gotta give both these guys their flowers. They've really settled into their own. Adam's dad jokes, terrible, but still kind of funny.
Because it's coming from an actual dad.
Exactly.
It's different when it's like Devin giving a dad joke. You're like, oh, okay.
You're not a father.
Like Adam, meeting him in person, it tracks absolutely. It's authentic, which is something you need in reality TV. Who the thing? People being
Adam.
Real.
That's actually Adam.
Steve.
Adam and Handjob Steve crushing it.
Yeah. So for our viewers, we were like doing the numbers last night, and I had some cases to be made that Steve should have a little more respect in our world in terms of who he's compared to. Because I'll have to pull up the text I sent out, but I saw the overall elimination records across all the franchises except for Chance vs. Pros, Pro Stars, whatever. Look, Steve's 6-2 all time. CT's 6-6.
I mean, I'd say
I'm just saying.
Steve's more of an elimination king than CT, and he's got a higher win percentage if you really look at it than some of the best, like Derek K and Wes. I mean, those guys, they've got I'm pretty sure Derek K has 8 losses.
Yep.
I think Wes has 11 losses.
Yeah. So I have the numbers up. Steve is 6-2. Derek, the elimination king, 12-8. Jordan 11-6. Bananas 16-15. CT 6-6. West 16-11. Our Steve 6-2, boys. He has more of a trajectory of a Jordan in elimination than some of the Mount Rushmores.
Well, especially where we're at right now with the state of the season, he could be, 16-2 by the end of the season, because unless they win a daily, I don't know how they're not seeing the sand.
Look, this season without Steve and Adam right now for me would be incredibly boring with how the game is being played. So, you know what? Line them up. We got Steve, the hand model, giving hand jobs and job advice to people. And then you have Adam on his all-time Michael Jordan flu game streak, and see how many people they knock out along the way.
Steve is so much of a star that for the first couple minutes of this episode, he was actually narrating the episode.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it so much.
He's a legend. I'm thoroughly impressed. I mean, so far for me, the dailies have been really cool.
Yeah.
I've liked the dailies. The eliminations have been a little bit weak, very All-Stars-esque, but they have, Adam and Steve have prevailed with flying colors. I mean, for me, in a world full of Veronica's trying to convince the audience that the reason why she sucks is because it's part of her strategy to make other teams think that she sucks so that they pull her to the end, and not because she's an out of shape, disgusting human who sucks at competing. The Adams and Steves of the world, absolutely gems from the Era 1 era.
Yeah. Let's you brought it up, Paulie. I'm going to pivot it to Dan. What's more embarrassing? Veronica explained to us, which we don't hear from Katie at all. Katie's invisible. Might as well not even be on the show. It should have been her that was the one who was missing at the beginning. Veronica, who says we are strategically being bad so that people won't want to throw us in, while actually just being bad, because let's be real, even if they were both in shape, they are two short, small women who would not win this daily. It's just the facts of life here. Or Aneesa, who has a very triggering, I'm all about, helping people get past their fears. Very triggered by cargo nets.
Or just falling in general.
I know. I was going to say
we were shitting on. Let's say we were shitting on the cargo nets last week. The fact that when it comes up and she's talking about her fear of cargo nets, it comes from an injury that happened where a cargo net wasn't fucking involved. Like
it was a wall.
I don't understand how that triggers cargo nets. Like you realize, like they go up like in a V, like a tent. Even if you fall, sure, it's not going to feel great, but you're not going to fall directly to the ground. That's not how cargo nets work.
One is made of rope.
I don't know if her ankle gets caught on the way down, she's her leg might get yanked right off.
She'll blame Jordan for that too.
Well,
but it's an opportunity to show Jordan's clip ripping her in the final when she rolled her ankle. One of my favorite clips of all time.
It's just so sad that we're at the point that it's just like, unfortunately, you have to defend Aneesa here because for right or wrong, she's just kind of freaking out and not doing the Veronica where she's trying to come across to the audience in some way that isn't genuine and it's complete bullshit. Because I don't know. There's no way I could ever defend Veronica against anyone else because it's just like, no, you keep trying to spin these stories. That's not true. You're not this manipulative mastermind anymore. Maybe you were back when you were fit and you were winning challenges. Now you're just getting drug along because if you thought when you were with CT that you were team layup, this is ultimate team layup right here, which he's currently on.
Dude, it's worse than team layup, man. I mean, all Veronica is doing is just showing her grandma tits in her confessionals and doing absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like I could at least say that like Aneesa has gotten herself in much better shape in the time from like this filming to, the time that we're watching it. So even if people were trying to come at Aneesa for her abilities and her size and everything, you really can't do it because it's like she put in so much work. Like guarantee you take a snapshot of what Veronica looks like right now. She looks the exact same. And like, I'm not giving Aneesa grace here because I thought it was embarrassing when she's sitting there having conversations with people being like, I just don't want to work out in the house because I feel like it takes away, from my social game and like being friends with everybody. And it's like, what are we even talking about, Aneesa? Like 30 minutes of cardio wouldn't fucking kill you a day. Like, I'm pretty sure you could not talk to people for 30 minutes a day. Like there's literally nothing else to do in the house but talk to people. Like you could work out 2 hours out of the day and it's not going to take away from your social game of talking to people.
We also see people talk at the gym all the time. Like there are so many sessions within the challenge where mainly it's the guys usually where you see the guys are like on the treadmill or doing some weights and they talk. Like they were showing like Nicole.
Everybody works out.
Like Nicole was working out with someone like in the segment that they were talking about there. And I think it was Frank. Like you're telling me they're not talking to each other as they're facing each other lifting? Like
it's a bonding moment. And it's like one of those things that, kind of brings people together, in the house. It's like, it's one of those times where you can have genuine conversations with people where the game is kind of like switched off a little bit because you're just working out. And, it's, I don't know. Like I'm a little bit biased because like when I first came on the show, like there was a heavy emphasis on everybody working out.
Yeah.
Like they used to have to shut down parts of the outside. Like on War of the Worlds 1, for instance, like there was a driveway that went around the whole compound that was like a half a mile. And they had to like shut it down and say that we weren't allowed to run on it because there was parts of production around the outside that like we would be able to see if we were doing that full loop. But like everybody was pissed that it got shut down because they were like, so we're supposed to run on this fucking treadmill that like only goes max 10 kilometers an hour. So like people were getting pissed off because like everybody would have to have their rotations and everybody would run for an hour on the fucking treadmill. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's come a long way. I hope the challenge really gets back to the point where like the weaker people and the weaker teams get weeded out early on, and we stop relying so much on like friends and social game. Like there should be an aspect of social game. There should be an aspect of that for sure. But like on War of the Worlds 1, after the first 5 eliminations, all of the weak teams were gone.
Well, and you bring up a great point there, because I think that's part of my issue with this season. One's the editing, because like the editing of the episodes themselves, just there's no
flow.
Investment. There's no investment as the viewer watching the episode of what's happening, because I see the people who argued it at the end of the previous episode go home in the following episode. Cool. We talk more about that at the beginning of the episode. They go to a daily. Over 60% of the teams talk about how they're not trying, because there is no punishment if you don't try. You just get to exist in the house. The daily stops as immediately as only one team wins. Then you have Devin then go like, oh, I'm going to make chaos. We see 0 chaos. We see 0 people being on edge. We see only one move happening. And like, I already had these in my notes, but like Frank just put out like a video on his Instagram sort of explaining like the alignments of the house, which made it show why Devin and Leroy pick Sylvia and Kellyanne over everyone else based off the dynamics of the house.
What did he say?
Well, it was like you have like all these little sections within the house of like how people are aligned. And as soon as it's either Frank and Sam going in, or he has to give another name, he's like, the only name that makes sense based off who Devin and Leroy are working with is Kellyanne and Sylvia. And by removing Kellyanne and Sylvia, you also take out one of the Lavender ladies, because since it's a smaller cast, each time you don't take out a Lavender lady, they could easily become a majority very quickly. So that was the one of the three
so weird that
he could throw
people
out.
have this mindset when it comes to the Lavender ladies, who have never been known for winning dailies or having control of games politically. But yet nobody says that when it comes to people like Bananas and Jordan. Like we just watched season 40 where like 2 of the strongest guys, just like waltz their way, and Johnny started having trouble around like mid-season. Right. By his own doing, but it's like, those are the dangerous people. Like, so I don't know. It's almost like,
well, yeah, I honestly, it's a way of playing. Like some people like to say that's me playing smart. A lot of other people would say this is how you play a scared game, but a scared game lets you last a little longer. I feel, because in what world do you have in this situation where Devin or Leroy has the confessional, but I assume Devin also agrees with it, where he's like, oh, we made this deal with Sam and Frank instead of Kellyanne and Sylvia, because in the event that Frank and Sam win, they'll owe us something. And immediately I text Dan, I'm like, but that depends on Frank and Sam winning a daily.
Yeah.
If I'm just looking at it, and this is more coming from an entertainment point of view, is we can't afford to lose Frank, because outside of Handjob Steve, Frank's the next best thing we got. Because I'm looking at the rest of the cast and I'm like, what the hell's going on? We have Shane and Devon, who we thought finally they're back. They're 2 chaos makers. They're 2 people that bring the drama, bring the entertainment. They've been flies on the wall. Corey Lay, who we've seen do a little bit of that in the past, he's mostly not been there. Nothing, as you mentioned before, from Katie. Nicole, Melissa, we're getting almost
not entertaining.
Nothing from anyone. Who?
Corey Lay is not entertaining.
He at least, I'm not saying he's entertaining, but he'll at least give a drama in a few moments where it's just Frank's the only one that's rocking the boat a little bit, and everyone's standing back with their hands up, being like,
it's not even rocking the boat. He owns the boat. He's the dictator of the strategy in this game, outside of like people's base alliances. Outside that, Frank is controlling the narrative of who is getting the house vote and who's going down in the stand against them.
Frank owns the boat. I just feel like, we have shifted into the way that the show is edited now. We've shifted into this mindset of like every person needs their moments. So it's like if you're being eliminated that episode, like you get the edit of the episode. And my thing with that is it's made these episodes very predictable. And it almost gives light to people that maybe don't need light. I mean, like when I first was on, it's like the way that the shows were edited was like the people who made it to the end, but you didn't know who made it to the end. Like they started sewing the storyline together of like these moments of being against each other, like early on. And if you got eliminated early on in the season, like, within the first 4 or 5 eliminations, like you didn't get an edit at all.
Right. Because
like,
why invest? Why are you investing time into their story?
You were just not there. Your edit was you went into the elimination, and how you performed in that elimination was your edit. Now it's like we're losing the aspect of like a build-up to like certain moments or like cliffhangers of like, is this person going to get this person? Is this person going to get this person? Is, the house going to be split or divided? Because we're focusing so much on who's going home. It's like we knew Kellyanne and Sylvia were going home this episode because the whole episode was around them becoming close and, oh, they argued and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, man, just like, I don't know.
Which if going into next week, if we lose Ashley and Aneesa, really have to question what the hell the editors are doing. If they're going to keep doing this rinse and repeat, at the end of the episode, we're going to give you a little taste. That's going to be the story for the next episode. And then they go home. So I obviously don't want to lose Ashley for a lot of, personal reasons, because she's good for the house, good for the game.
Yeah.
But if that ends up being the theme here, this is going to become a boring and predictable season at the rate we're on right now.
But maybe if they do, but like maybe if they do go out there, like let's say Ashley and Aneesa do go out next week, maybe that is part of like the big kicker that caused Aneesa's like moment in the sand where she's just like, I'm getting myself back in shape. Like I'm getting myself in legit shape so that the next time I'm called in, I don't get this early exit. So even if I do go into the sand, I'm prepared. I'm ready to go kick ass and make people remember that I'm like, quote unquote, an elimination queen, whatever. What have you. Whatever reason, there was a motivation that had to have happened from this season on that caused her to make that life change. I would hate for them to go because Ashley's fucking incredible on the screen. And like her and Frank have a similar story, not in the politics, but in how they are having to deal with their partner in the game. They both want to say things that they know they can't say to both their partners, but they're like, I'm holding it in. I'm being the best partner that I can be. It's just that we've seen Ashley crack first.
Because I'm assuming she was drunk. Like, I think that's where it came. Like, I don't think that...
Well, drunk words are sober thoughts, so...
Like, I don't think that fight was really... I don't know. The way that they really edited up in some of the previews and then that was the payoff for it, that was pretty disappointing. But given some of the things they've done over the past few seasons, also not
I saw it was building up because every scene that you had Ashley in, she had, like, a new drink in her hand. So I was like, oh, we're getting here. Now, this is like the second argument of Ashley's career that she's gotten into surrounding like being called a redneck or like trailer park trash. Like I think Theo called her like 8 Mile or like Eminem's mom.
Oh, yeah.
On War of the Worlds 1, and she lost it on him. And then, I mean, Aneesa, like that's just some like outlandish stuff to be saying like – and like to almost like put it in a way where it's like I'm allowed to say it. Like, I would be pissed if I was Ashley too, because like that'd be me being like, hey, Aneesa, can you just go get me some food? My big old round, plump partner. And I could say that because you're my partner and you make fun of your body weight all the time. It's like, what?
I mean, it's that one step off of the I have black friends, so I can use the word.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you
here's
can't.
Or like, I could make these jokes because like, here's my one black friend. Like, look, I'm not racist. I have a black friend. That was almost like where Aneesa was going with that, where it's like, can you get me a drink? Mild redneck friend. I'm like, oh my God, that is cringy.
Right. And like, should Ashley go off as hard as she like was like, and obviously the wine was involved. For entertainment purposes, yes. In like reality, probably not. Like just be like, yo, like cut the shit.
It was very Wes S from Rivals 2 when he's like, I had a monster truck, and he starts listing off everything that he had. That's exactly where Ashley went with
I live
family.
in the suburbs. I actually come from a really wealthy part of West Virginia. We're not all rednecks. Fuck you. I don't make fun of your body weight. I don't make fun of this. Started coming out a little bit.
Yeah, she was like, what's the line that I can cross? Because I'm trying to be on my best behavior now that production's bringing me back. It's like, where's this line that I can go? And I think she kept it in that line. But I was just like, Ashley was one step close to going to her real world thing where she told Corey that her family could buy his family. And I was like, we're getting close.
Yeah, that was an aggressive outburst from Ashley, 100%.
But that's why we like, in the same breath, that's why we all love Ashley, because like, she's not afraid to pop off. And like a lot of these other people need to take notes of like, we know when someone's actually popping off and it's entertaining, and people who are just popping off because they're like, oh, it will be good TV if I do this.
Yeah, 100%.
And she has that, I don't know, she has more of that full package where she can pop off like Amanda, but is also a threat to win the game. Where Amanda's kind of, she's there and you're like, I just hope she makes it decently far in the game because she has no shot at winning.
Yeah,
most seasons.
Yeah, because like it's overall just frustration for her. Because like Ashley is the type of player where like if you bring her to a cast and you're saying, oh, it's a rival season, she could throw a rock in any direction and she has a rival. And
she said she thought she was going to be partners with Devin.
Well, apparently a lot of people thought they were going to be partners with Devin. So like
Devin had some options, yeah.
Well, like John A thought she was going to be partnered with Devin until Beth showed up.
Well, that's because everyone lied to her that Beth wasn't going to be there.
Yeah, and then like, so it's sort of this double-edged sort of like, you have your partner there, and that's the reason why you're on the show. But I can still be mad that you're my partner while still trying to win the money. So I'm just like, because I don't think Ashley's mad if she just sees that once during the day, Aneesa goes onto like the bike, like does something on the bike, throws a medicine ball around.
It's the same argument going. It's the same argument going all the way back to Rivals 2 when she was partners with Diem. Diem was begging her that entire season, like, just swim laps with me for an hour a day, and that had to have been what, like 12 years ago, and still just it isn't there.
Maybe one day.
Listen, not everybody can be CT and show up out of shape and basically drop 100 pounds by the end of the season.
It's insane that he does that like consistently
while smoking,
especially like at an older age. While smoking. Like yeah, it's just like it's unreal. It's unreal. But how moving forward with these type of dailies? Because like we're in Vietnam still. How much of a factor do you think it's still going to be on them because like the flagship people that are on the flagship, they should be able to last even in this extreme heat. But like if you're going in and they were saying like it's apparently like 100 over or feel of over 110 degrees, dude. You have Adam going in like 104-degree fever competing in this. Like,
yeah, that was my first thought when seeing the cast. It's like you just watched some of the best struggle in this heat, minus Jordan, on season 40, and like you really wanted to bring people like Sam, Veronica, and Aneesa there. Like, I'm sorry, but like from a health standpoint, that's like a liability because that kind of heat is very dangerous. And like, there's professional football players who have died from heat stroke. And like, you know, my biggest thing, like, as I'm looking at this daily where like Sam is like checking out, it's like, yeah, of course she's going to be checking out. Like, if you asked her to run like that in cold weather, she'd be struggling. Now you're putting her in 110 degree weather at like 100% humidity, and you're expecting her to run. You're expecting Aneesa to run. You're expecting Veronica to run. They could have a heart attack.
Yeah. Like there's legitimate health concerns that could happen to some of these people on this cast. Not all of them, but some of them. Yeah, but I know we're keeping this one like a little quicker because this episode didn't have a ton of the tooth. For Devin and Leroy, you go in, you win, mainly because they're just like, well, we want to win. Do you think that this type of move like will have repercussions for them? Like putting in Kellyanne and Sylvia, deciding to do the safe move of like, we're not going to put people with stars against each other. We're not going to go for a heavy hitter. We're not even going to try to get Adam and Steve out. Because like you have Adam and Steve on the ropes, sick. Adam's sick as a dog. Like, why not try to get a favor for someone and be like, hey, we'll put you in? Why isn't everyone on the cast being like, hey, throw me in. I want to get this star right now. These people are hurt.
I 100% look at Fessy and Amber's move and Devin and Leroy's move as smart moves. You have to keep the shields in the game that are going to shield you, especially seeing the way that all the voting has happened. Like the weak teams are voting for the strong teams. Like you almost have to like put some sort of leverage on it where it's like, hey, you guys should vote for other teams because you might be one of the teams that goes in against this strong team and loses. And on my side of things, you've now had 2 eliminations in a row where Adam has asked for Frank and Sam because Adam actually sees that Frank is the one leading the charge of this. Let's vote in the strong teams. Let's target the strong teams. And it's only going to be a matter of time before there's an opportunity where Frank can put 2 strong teams in against each other. And then it goes from there. I don't know why Fessy and Amber and Devin and Leroy didn't take the shot at Frank and Sam because Sam is not in any condition to win eliminations this season. And it would, you know, when you have like one person that has such influence as Frank does, you need to chop that head off of the snake like immediately. So putting in 2 girl teams, while I understand it, like, because you were almost setting up Adam and Steve a guaranteed win, it really does nothing because the first girl team that went in and went home had no political sway. The second girl team that went in and went home also had no political sway.
Yeah.
So you really didn't do anything.
It was almost like it was the right idea, wrong execution. Because you're right, taking out Frank would have been a good idea. But if you are Devin and Leroy or Fessy and Amber, you don't want Adam and Steve to go because if they were to go, you put them against someone, it's one of their 2 teams that becomes the house vote every single week. Well, so it makes sense wanting to keep them around because as long as they're there, everyone can always say, I already said your name. I'm not going to say another name. So they're going to keep being that house vote every single week. And
well, here's my counterpoint to it. Here's my counterpoint to it. And part of it's me being more team TV of it all. It's just that at a certain point in time, when you're playing a game, you're constantly going at one person and that one person keeps winning. It gets to a point where they stop doing like what we say, where it's like, oh, if Jordan's on a season, put him in elimination time and time again. Eventually he'll lose. The issue is fatigue. Fatigue in the mindset of like, you're seeing these same people going in and you see the same person winning. There's going to be players who think of themselves as gamers are like, I'm getting bored by this outcome. Let's not do this. Let's do a different move that's big. And then that can turn around on you because you aren't making those moves. Because I could easily see Ashley being like, well, obviously the star people are like keeping each other safe. All the strong players are keeping each other safe. So like, what if for some reason one of these strong teams didn't win a daily? And then everyone votes in still Adam and Steve. That team could then go like, okay, I'm putting Devin and Leroy in. Because
your issue is that there's absolutely no parity here, and only 3 or 4 teams have any shot at winning a daily.
Right,
That's
but
where
I'm just
it's
saying
through,
the mindset can change. So even if they're not winning dailies, all these people can control that house vote. So they could, in theory, just decide, well, this week we don't want to do Adam and Steve. We're going to throw in literally anyone else. And now, what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to throw in Adam and Steve as your vote as the winners after you just spent these multiple weeks being like, but we're going to appease them by giving them who they want. We want them on our side. You're not putting yourself in a potential sticky situation.
The only thing that they're doing by constantly voting Adam and Steve in and having Adam and Steve come back is like, once you go down and you see an elimination, every single one that you win, it gives you more confidence on the next one, right? Because even if you pull back the layers, right? If you just look at the broader scope of people's elimination records in general, majority of people fall within like that 45 to 55% range. So like there literally is a 50-50 shot of if you go into elimination, you're going to win or lose, right? Then there's the outliers of people who have way more wins than losses, way more losses than wins. Okay, those are the outliers. But on a season where somebody starts getting momentum in eliminations, it's very hard to get them out. It almost has to be very chancy, right? We saw it on season 40 with Corey and with Bananas, right? It took how many eliminations before Corey got clipped, right? Bananas didn't get clipped. Rachel didn't get clipped, right? How many eliminations did she see? Now, they're putting Adam and Steve in this almost immediately where they've already gained momentum with 2 wins. And if they win another one, like everybody else in the house is going to be sitting there being like, we can't beat these guys in an elimination.
Exactly. And and also to go with that, a change that seems to have happened between All-Stars 4 and 5 is like, even during wins, you can't like rotate stars around. Like you can literally only win stars if you have someone with a star in elimination and you go against them and you don't have a star. Maybe there's a case where if both teams have stars that the winner can hand out a star, or it's just available at the next daily. We don't know. But if you're some of these weaker teams, why am I going to appease this outcome and throw in a star? Make the winner put in a person with a star. Put in someone who doesn't have a star to have the opportunity to gain your star. Because I understand it's early. You don't want to have it at this point in time. But like you have to get it at some point. And in a smaller cast and a smaller style season, you only have so many opportunities.
Yeah. Agreed.
Absolutely. And I mean, I guess lastly, before we wrap it up, I find it not funny, because funny isn't the right word, but just how much of an asshole the challenge fandom as a whole was to Sylvia over this past week, and the fact that now they're friends. It's mind-boggling. Just, hey, you really didn't need to do that. And B, if Sylvia isn't there, you're bitching because no one's creating drama. So you don't have to like Sylvia, but don't be a dick to her either.
Dude, these challenge fans are the most hypocritical thing I've ever seen. Like, they just cry just for the sake of crying. It's like you cry when there's nobody arguing. You then cry when there are people arguing. It's like, just shut the fuck up and enjoy the show.
Yeah, it's like I was talking to people because like the Swiftie fandom, like going outrageous on Jason Kelsey, the Eagles, the New Heights podcast, because they dared to put a congratulations Eagles tweet out there. And like the fandom, like you have to realize fans, you are fans. You're not in their lives. You're not in the lives of these contestants. You're not in the lives of these players. You're not in the life. Like you don't dictate their outcome. You support them. Sure.
Yeah.
But that's where the entitlement stops. You don't get to say, we made you.
Dude.
We don't get to say, we're the ones who get to make you. We're the ones who get to cancel you. Like
dude, the level of
enjoy the show. If you don't like someone, you can just not talk about it.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I had my fair share of messages over the past week of people trying to tell me what conversations I should or shouldn't have, what I should or shouldn't do in my life. And at the end of the day, it's like, first of all, you don't know what happens behind fucking closed doors. So shut the fuck up. And second of all, yeah, I'm totally going to make decisions about my life based off of what you think I should fucking do.
Yeah. And plus, like, if you look at it, some of the greatest seasons come when you have someone that you are rooting hard against. I mean, we have case point AB right here with Paulie, both the World of Worlds. People were rooting hard against Paulie and Cara both of those seasons. And what happened? They're two of the last truly great challenge seasons we've had on the show.
It makes for good TV when there's characters who are able to create emotion from the people watching. And you shouldn't be up in arms about this kind of stuff. You should be enjoying it while it exists, enjoying it while it lasts, because, you know, the second that you don't have it, you know, the season becomes boring. I mean, everybody was sitting there complaining about season 40 because it's like, oh, you know, it's boring. You know, there's not any arguments. This storyline is whatever. And it's like, dude, not every season, you know, the people that are getting in shit the whole time are going to make it. So you got to enjoy it while it lasts. And you got to, you know, I mean, because at the end of the day, it's like, what do you want? Like, you want this show to stay going on season after season. Well, the quickest way for the show to die is for people to not be talking about it online. And unfortunately, if you don't have shit to talk about online, the show's going to die. And that's just it.
I just hope that, and I know they didn't because they never do, but when they saw that Sylvia posted a picture with Kellyanne after the episode last night, they were like, oh, shit. Like, all right, like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And of course they didn't think that, but.
Yeah. How dare you take a picture with Sylvia? You hate her. You hate her. No pictures.
No pictures.
Yeah. But, you know, important thing to end this podcast. Another win for our boy Handjob Steve. He ain't going anywhere. Him and Adam are going to keep dad bodding this shit to the end. And you guys are just going to have to listen to us to be fans of Handjob Steve every step of this way.
Dude, I'm just waiting for the boy is winning.
Yeah, should have those soon.
Let's go.
Should have them soon.
But yeah, that's going to do it for us. We will be back next week to talk episode 4. If you're listening, watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell, subscribe. That way you get notified every time we go live, or any other podcast here at Reality After Show. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts at, please take a few seconds, rate and review us 5 stars. It helps us out tremendously. And as always, the best way to support the podcast is become a patron at realitypatron.com. That'll do it for us, and we'll be back next week to discuss episode 4.